increasingly hot and humid. That heat peaking as we head the week out on Friday. Temperatures widely high 20s, low 30s, into the 90s in Fahrenheit for some. And just to put that in context, we're a good 10 or 12 degrees higher than we'd normally be for this stage in June.
And the Daily Star says we may face a shortage of, wait for it, Cadbury's flakes for our ice cream later in the week. As the heatwave is coming, as long as there's strawberry sauce, I'll be fine.
OK, so there's a lot of stuff in the papers this morning as well about the weather we're going to have over the next few days. Some people calling at the end of the week Friday with a Y in the middle. Let's find out what the reality is, because it's lovely for some people and others are going to be quite concerned about this. But Carol's out and about and it looks gorgeous there at this time of day, at least, Carol.
It certainly is, John. Good morning, everyone, from St James's Park in London. What a view we have. You can see the pelicans behind me. Some of them have woken up, some of them still having a bit of a sleep. The fountain on the other side, it's a very tranquil start to the day. Temperatures here at the moment are about 12.5 Celsius. Yesterday, St James's Park was actually the warmest part of the country. It got to just over 25 degrees. Now, the forecast for the rest of the week is for Scotland and Northern Ireland. You're going to have a fair bit of cloud at times, some rain at times as well, but there'll be some brighter spells too. Whereas for England and also for Wales, we're looking at some hot, sunny weather and increasingly turning humid from Thursday, not just by day but also by night, and the peak of the heat's likely to be on Friday. And it's worth noting that although the highest temperatures are going to be across England and Wales, across parts of South and East Northern Ireland, South and East Scotland, you'll also have temperatures above average for the time of year, just not as high as in England and Wales, but for the rest of Northern Ireland and Scotland, it's business as usual. Sal and John.
OK, well, it's hard to believe you're in the middle of London there.
Looks gorgeous, doesn't it?
It's some sort of
so
oasis.
Beautiful.
It really is.
Sound effects and everything.
All the wildlife as well. Yes. I think that was a wee coot or a moorhen.
What's your handbag?
Just behind me.
We'll see you later.
Oh, it's gorgeous to be out and about this morning, isn't it?
It is. So we're looking ahead to a few nice days of summery weather, but...
You know the other big name that's going to be at Wimbledon?
Go on.
Oh, Carol.
I was going to say Carol Kirkwood.
Morning, Carol
The
Kirkwood.
biggest draw.
Who's also warming up. In fact, Wimbledon's warming up, Eastbourne's warming up, everything's warming up.
It certainly is. Good morning, everybody. I'm in St James's Park in London this morning. Look at the view. It is gorgeous here. Nice and still. We've got the ducks, we've got the geese, we've got the sun. It is lovely. And in front of me, we've also got poppies, daisies, cornflower, which reminds me, pollen levels today are high or very high, almost across the board. The exception to that is across the far north of Scotland. So if you've got an allergy to grass pollen and nettle pollen as well, actually, then do bear that in mind before you set out. For the far southeast, we're looking at 33, locally possibly a little bit more. And for Scotland and Northern Ireland, temperature-wise in the next couple of days, but especially on Friday for you, temperatures will be higher than average across the south and east of Northern Ireland, the south and east of Scotland, but to the north and the west, they will be round about average. And remember, all those fronts that came in on Friday with the rain, they're sinking south during Saturday. There'll be some thundery downpours as well. The south hanging on to the higher temperatures, but it will all be gone by the time we get to Sunday. John and Sal.
Carol, it is so beautiful where you are this morning. I do love sitting next to John, but I really do wish I was with you today. So nice.
I feel the same.
So do I, Sal.
Should we fight over it?
Let's have lessons on the grass
come down
today.
And join me. I would love that.
Yes.
How's the hay fever, Carol? I'm worried about your hay fever.
My nose is running like a tap. I can tell you that for nothing. But and here I am amongst the flowers again. Struth.
Yeah, well, you're doing a sterling job.
Only another 2.5 hours to go. You'll be fine. We'll see you again a bit later.
What was that? Lessons outside on the grass?
Yeah, you know,
Let's
you used to do that. Yeah, get the mats out. Yeah.
Yes.
Sunny day till Friday, then it all changes back again.
Jonah Fisher is in the village of Happisbrugh on the Norfolk coast for us this morning. Morning, Jonah.
Good morning from beautiful Happisbrugh on the Norfolk coast. Now, Happisbrugh is a village that is really on the front line of climate change and questions about adaptation here in the UK. If you just come through here, well, there used to be at about 100 metres of road more in that direction, but it has been eroded pretty dramatically by the sea over the last 20 years or so.
The remains of the rocks and wood which once tried to protect Bryony's old home can still be seen. But there's no more money for sea defences in Happisbrugh.
The sea, no one will ever stop that.
Malcolm helped plan Happisbrough's response to the eroding coast, and his project is now being seen as an example of how the rest of Britain might adapt. 9 homes that were about to fall into the sea were bought by the government and demolished, and their owners helped to start again inland.
As they drop off the front, you build them at the back.
You move the homes, you move the families.
You move the families. So if you come back in 200 years' time, you'll still see Happisbrugh. It'll be in a different guise, and it might be a kilometre over there. But it will still exist.
Our sea levels are already rising. At the moment, it's just by a few millimetres every year, but the rate is increasing. What this all means for coastal communities like Happisbrugh is that there's going to be tough questions asked as to whether to hold the line or retreat inland.
Scientists say several hundred years of rising sea levels are now inevitable. Difficult decisions lie ahead. What should we protect and what let go? Jonah Fisher, BBC News, Happisbrugh.
There's default process. We've now introduced one. We have what we believe is a template for the rest of the country if choose to apply it.
You mentioned the template here. What Happisbrugh has done is effectively devised a scheme whereby people whose homes are at risk can get some money for them and get some help to move inland. And now that's actually a model that the government's quite interested in, isn't it? They're looking at possibly using it elsewhere.
Yeah, well, we used government money to research that. We went into that and we devised the policy here at North Norfolk District Council, who were probably the leading authority in the country on the subject.
We are able to insure at the moment, but that might be short-lived, so it's difficult.
So, having had the decision made that there's going to be no more sea defences, that effectively this land we're standing on now is going to crumble, it's really had an impact on the economic life of this village.
It has. Pathfinder project a few years ago enabled us to move the caravan park, which means that one of the economic drivers is still there. As I say, the pub is still there. But other businesses have gone. Beach Road had a Cliff House tea shop and various other things down. That's already gone. So the effect is growing, of course.
There was a relocation project, and people who lived just behind us here, they received some money and help to move inland. But you really feel that that's not enough, and that more should have been done and more should be done to help people threatened by effectively rising sea levels and climate change.
Let's go back to Carol this morning, who is in beautiful St James's Park. Morning, Carol.
Good morning, everyone. Sal is right. It is beautiful here in St James's Park in London this morning. We've been watching the ducks, the ducklings, beautiful flowers. Pollen levels are high or very high, except for across northern Scotland today. And as I mentioned, it's going to be humid, and then it's all going to go bang as we go in towards the weekend. So temperatures will come down. Sal and John.
It's going to go bang?
Thunderstorms.
OK, thank goodness for that. It's the end of the world. Thank you very much indeed, Carol. It's a beautiful start to the day.
It's gorgeous
for
here,
most
isn't
of
it?
us. Carol's going to have the weather for us in a moment because it's going to get really hot towards the end of the week. But if you think this is hot,
Yeah, listen to
you
this.
ain't seen nothing.
Spain is currently experiencing its second unusually early heat wave. France is now preparing for similar conditions.
Yeah, this extreme weather, it's come up from North Africa. It's expected to last until at least Saturday. Carol can explain it for us in a moment. But yesterday, temperatures in Spain and France surpassed 40 degrees Celsius in some places. That's more than 104 Fahrenheit. France is going to see similar highs in the next couple of days.
Well, the soaring temperatures mean many areas of Spain are on high alert due to the risk of wildfires. People living there have been telling us how they're finding the heat.
The heat situation in Madrid, Spain, is right now really bad. We are at 8:30 p.m. and it's not only the sun still strong, but we are at 36 degrees.
To me, this goes beyond heat. The heat is really, really strong, and sometimes we struggle to breathe.
And it's 37 degrees at 8 o'clock in the evening. As you can see, I'm at a football tournament, and After every 20 minutes, they have a break for water, but they keep on playing another 20 minutes. The heat is unbearable. I have no air conditioning in my flat, and I'm currently struggling.
Wow. I know we all want the sunshine, don't we? But it's not always the best thing.
It's a fine line, isn't it? For some people, it really is horrible to deal with. It's coming our way, not in quite the same intensity, though. Carol's out and about in London and St James's Park for us this morning, where it looks like a beautiful start to the day. But, I mean, it's not going to get that hot here, is it, this week, please?
No, it's not, John. Good morning, everybody from St James's Park. It's beautiful here. The top temperature we're likely to see is going to be somewhere in the southeast quarter of England. It's likely to be around about 33 degrees. Locally, it might get a degree higher than that, but we're not going to get the 40s plus that they have had in Spain and are going to get in France. But it's worth mentioning for southern and eastern parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, you too will have temperatures above average for the time of year. They just won't be as high as they're going to be across England and Wales. And then the whole lot freshens up as that weather front clears us, although we'll hang on to the milder conditions for a time, or warmer conditions in the south of England. John and Sal.
Carol, thank you so much for all that detail. So it's not as straightforward as we thought, is it? Slightly more complicated. Carol, thank you. Carol, live in St James's Park for us this morning. Beautiful location.
Yeah, and we don't need really the maps and all the data, because we've just got Carol's sunglasses on her head, and that tells us everything we need to know for the day ahead.
She's off for an ice cream now.
Yeah, see you later.
She's in beautiful St James's Park this morning. We're getting a tour of the park, aren't we, Carol?
So you've got the whole place to yourself?
Absolutely. Oh, actually, John, it's been really busy here this morning. Lots of people out exercising, which is very impressive, I must say. And you know what? It's warming up quite nicely as well. But what a view. You can see how the trees in the sunlight just dappling on the grass. It's beautiful. Now, if you have an allergy to pollen, and it's grass pollen and nettle pollen I'm talking about at the moment, today's levels are high or very high almost across the board, except for across northern Scotland, where they're either low or indeed moderate. It's going to be hot across England and Wales. Temperatures widely up to the mid to the high 20s. Locally in the southeastern quarter, we're looking at 33, possibly a little bit more. But if you're in the northwest of Scotland, the northwest of Northern Ireland, you have closer to average temperatures, and it's going to be raining as well on Friday. John and Sal.
Right on cue, we have people exercising. Thank you very much, Carol. It's great to see you this morning. The jogger runs past her.
You too.
Speaking to our correspondent Fiona Trott, who has travelled to Cyprus to cover this story for us this morning. And Fiona, this is the story about a couple who went over there from the UK in search of a lovely, sunny new life, and now find themselves in this situation.
Yes, that's right, John. This is what David Hunter worked hard for all his life down that mine. He and his wife Janice were enjoying a happy retirement here in Cyprus. Then a few years ago, Janice became ill with blood cancer, and she was very ill. And then just before Christmas, David did something unimaginable, and his daughter Leslie told us he deserves compassion. Now, David's trial is due to start tomorrow. It will be heard, as you heard there, in front of 3 judges, no jury, 3 judges. And his legal team would say this is not about whether or not he killed Janice, it's about why. They say this was not premeditated murder, it was assisted suicide. They tried to change the charge. It was rejected by the Attorney General. But judges here have the power to change a charge, and that is something his legal team would fight for.
Series it's been, we've seen wild badgers giving birth on air, we've seen cuttlefish finding love.
Oh, cuttlefishes is cute.
Cuttlefish.
Cuttlefish finding love is super cute.
And rare horseshoe bats in their natural habitat, but it may have been one particular moment that viewers will remember. Have a look.
Sometimes I'd like to do that myself. I'd like to fart a whole load of bubbles all around myself to protect me from the outside world. What? I don't mean I want you to do it. You mustn't fart me a whole load of bubbles.
Oh, I'll tell you something. It's a televisual highlight. Using anal fluid to fart bubbles in the face of Michaela Strachan.
Oh, please.
Come on. Come on.
But, you know, actually, it's really rather beautiful. With all these flowers and bubbles, it's turned into the Summer of Love, a hippie movie.
Hey, leave my arse alone when I'm farting
I'm not
anal
gonna
fluid.
touch your backside.
before the watershed.
Oh my goodness! So
Chris and Michaela have. Well, Michaela's just recovered.
What's going on there, guys?
When you show that out of context, it looks really random, doesn't it?
Just talk us through it.
Actually, there was a point to that. For a start, it was the best prop we've ever had on Springwatch. But it was to demonstrate what a creature called a spittlebug does, and it makes what's called cuckoo spit. So the spittlebug is the nymph form of a creature called a froghopper, and it attaches itself to something like this. Oh, you've got it there. It attaches itself to a stem, and then it creates these bubbles out of its backside to cocoon itself. I mean, look at it. It's absolutely brilliant, isn't it?
Just like
all
Chris.
These bubbles come out, and eventually,
it's uncanny.
Exactly. That's what we were demonstrating. So eventually, all the bubbles make a big cocoon, and that protects the little creature as it eats and then as it molts into the adult form, which is the froghopper. So yes, out of context, that did look a bit strange.
Yeah, but Chris, you were loving that, I could tell.
Well, we like all of those sort of practical demonstrations that draw attention to really fascinating bits of biology and zoology, and that's part and parcel of our mission.
Pictures. It's all about giving us access, isn't it? I think we've got. Look, this is a live shot we've got of all your cameras all over the place right now. Just talk us through what we're seeing and how that's helped inform and educate all of us over the last few weeks.
Well, this is at the heart of each Springwatch, is we have these live cameras on nests within the place that we're at. So at the moment we're at Wildken Hill in Norfolk, and we get amazing nests. I mean, particularly here we've had fantastic birds of prey: marsh harrier, kite, kestrel, buzzard, also all of the little swallows we've got on there. So we get these little cameras in the nests and we see things that you'd never be able to see otherwise.
Last night, Megs, not Michaela, was in a fabulous allotment up near Newcastle, an absolute oasis for life in an urban area. So again, we're keen to stress it's not all about this, about being out in the countryside. There's wildlife wherever you are, and there's always something there that's interesting.
And you've got a big fan in Tom Hanks as well.
Oh. I know. Isn't it great when Tom Hanks champions Springwatch and the BBC? I'm a massive fan of Tom Hanks. And, you know, for him to say that on the one show, that, you know, what a great thing the BBC is, nowhere else would show something like Springwatch, was, well, something to celebrate, I think.
It's the kind of endorsement we all need at the moment with the current pressures. So we're very grateful for Tom for saying that about the BBC and about Springwatch, of course.
To be fair, Chris, if he'd seen you twerking with a bubble machine on your bum, he might have changed his mind. But
hold on, that would have been the start of my Hollywood career.
That's your show reel. Thank you so much for joining us.
And actually go straight to Carol now. And she's doing her own version of Springwatch, I think.
She has. We've been out and about quite a lot this morning. Carol's in St James's Park, and look, she's got company. Isn't that gorgeous?
Oh, isn't it absolutely gorgeous? Look at this swan and 3 little cygnets. And we've seen an Egyptian goose with her babies this morning as well. Ducks and ducklings. It's stunning. The weather is beautiful here this morning. It's nice and warm. It's about 18 degrees here in London currently. But the pollen levels are very high. And you can see them surrounded by poppies, daisies, cornflower, for example. And we've also got high or very high pollen levels across most of the UK today. The exception to that is across the very far north of Scotland. But it all clears away as we head in through the weekend. Lastly, from the far south of England, where it will still be very warm on Saturday. But we're going to see some rain, which of course we need, Sal and John.
We do, Carol. Lots of people will be concerned, won't they, Carol, about the high temperatures that we're seeing in some parts of Europe at the moment. Why is that, and are we likely to get even hotter here?
We are going to get hotter here, Sal, and we're going to import some of that hot air from Europe. Now, Spain and France today are going to have temperatures and have had temperatures in excess of 40 degrees. And what's happening is we've got high pressure at the moment in charge, and the air around high pressure moves in a clockwise direction. So as our high pressure drifts a little bit further east, we start sucking up the air from the near continent around it, and it's moving across England and Wales. We've got low pressure and weather fronts blocking it, though, getting into the northwest of Scotland and the northwest of Northern Ireland. Now, although it's getting hotter for us, it's not going to be as hot as that, I'm glad to say.
Carol, thank you so much for explaining that to us. Carol, who's been, honestly, had the most fabulous morning this morning at St James's Park. Thank you.
Nicely positioned. A nice bit of shade you've got there, Carol, as well.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes, it's been perfect.
Enjoy it.
Ian Watson is in Wakefield for us this morning. Morning, Ian.
Morning, Sally. And I have to say, it's gorgeous weather here in Wakefield, and what a contrast that was to the 2019 general election held in the winter, in the sleet and the snow. And perhaps we might see a contrasting result here in Wakefield too. Safe for Labour for more than 80 years, Wakefield was snatched by the Conservatives in 2019, and it's now fiercely contested political territory. Now, there's one thing the Conservatives and Labour can agree on, and that is that they say this contest is much closer than some of the opinion polls are suggesting. I guess they have to say that to try and get their vote out. Don't forget, though, there's 13 other parties standing too. That might influence the result too, depending whether they can attract the votes from the main parties.
Ian, thank you very much indeed. We enjoyed the man emerging from behind the front door as well as a secret surprise.
Yeah.